Welcome again to our channel, and thanks for coming along to find out more about the yoga life and about life coaching and how to tweak your life, get better at doing what you're doing, or creating conscious change in your life rather than being torn and tossed around by things happening to you, you being the victim. Today I want to share with you a really interesting concept by one of my favorite ever life coaches, Tony Robbins. Anthony Robbins, you'll find him under both names, and he is pretty much the one who made life coaching from a little niche thing into something really big around the world many moons ago. He developed over the years a concept called the 6 core needs. Why is this concept so interesting? Because it explains our unconscious drivers. We're often asking ourselves, why do I do the things that I do? Why am I, always going back into unhealthy patterns? Why can I not step up and do better? And these unconscious drivers are a really smart way of analyzing yourself and seeing what it is that you do, why you do it, and then also finding replacements of how you can do better in any of those particular areas of your life. It's not about judging yourself and saying one is better than the other. It's literally 6 equally important needs that you need to look at and discover which ones are the ones that are driving you more than the others, and then how can you do that in the best possible way. And how can you live a life that increases choice, that increases options, and gives you as much freedom as possible to do the things that you are doing best and to live happily and contribute as much to society as possible. So what are these 6 core needs? There are 4 that are the needs that we have physically, so we all need to meet them either in healthy and good or in negative and unhealthy ways. And then there are 2 more that are called the needs of the spirit, that are optional, but if we want to live a life that is more than just kind of average and we want to live to the fullest of our potential, we need to tap into those needs as well. So let's get started. The first need is called certainty, also known as security, as safety, as living a life that is stable and predictable. So that's people who are mainly opting for that, who will look at raising a family early on, at having their own house, at having a stable job that doesn't change too much, being very much in the mindset of wanting to provide, wanting to have all that certainty and security, to also avoid pain, to avoid fear, to make sure everything is nice and predictable and well organized. Now, like the flip side of a coin, there is the second need that balances out. So either you are more on the one end or the other. You can't have both of them at similar amounts, which is variety. So certainty can, of course, at some point maybe get a little bit boring. Variety is exactly the opposite. Variety is about excitedness, about adventure, about doing new things, about experimenting, about trying out things that you haven't done before. And obviously what you're avoiding when you are opting for high variety kind of lifestyles, you're avoiding boredom. You don't want to get bogged down into doing the same thing over and over again, and you want to explore and be curious. Now that's wonderful. It can run the risk of being a bit out of control, a bit unstable and ungrounded. So as long as you're doing this in a healthy way, it's fantastic, but it can become challenging. And we will actually later, in the second round of going through the needs, look at healthy and unhealthy ways of meeting those needs. So know first, it's like a coin with 2 flip sides. You have certainty and you have variety, wanting to be in control and have stability versus being quite willing to not always be in control and be curious and look at the world with wonder. Now we have another coin with 2 flip sides, which is the second set of basic needs, which is significance and love. Let's look at significance first. Significance is the desire to assert yourself as an individual in the world. It is about acknowledgement, about having an ego And that's not necessarily always a bad thing. We can have an ego, obviously, that is abounding and that tries to impress your views on everybody else. But a healthy sense of self and healthy boundaries are actually something incredibly important. In significance, you want to be seen as someone who is unique, who is special, who is important to others and to the world, and who is needed. Nothing wrong with that. It can come out in quite unhealthy ways, which we're going to look at later, but generally nothing wrong with wanting to feel a sense of being there and matter. The other side of it, the flip side, is a desire for love. And it can be love and connection, actually. So for some people, it's this really deep romantic love, but it can just as well be the love that you have for your children, the love that you have for your friends, for your family. So love is all about nurturing, about closeness, about a sense of belonging, about a sense of care and feeling worthy of love at the same time. It's about nurturing relationships, giving and receiving. So significance and love, again, flip side of the same coin. You will have to value one over the other. They can both be important to you, but you will not usually be able to have them both in equal amounts. Now, the next two are, again, not really flip sides of the same coin, but they go together as a pair. And here, these are the needs of the spirit. So to be more than you have been, to grow, the fifth need is actually the need for growth. So this is about learning, about developing, about stepping outside of yourself and your accustomed views. It's about evolution, about intellectually, spiritually, emotionally, going in deeper and making progress on your path. So growth is something obviously you can happily live without, but if you want to live a life less ordinary, growth is one of the things to focus on. And the last need is the need for contribution. So that's a desire to give beyond yourself, a desire to give unconditionally and to support and nurture others, to be creative and to make it about something other than yourself. So in order to live a fully fulfilled life, you want to be able to do that and not be self-involved and make it all about yourself. It's lovely to have everything that you need and be happy and self-fulfilled. But to really go beyond and live the life of your dreams, contribution is definitely something that you need to look into and find a good cause, whether that's your own children and family, whether that's your community, whether that's a spiritual path or religion. There's a multitude of ways of contributing to others and to the world at large. And our world right now probably needs it more than ever. So let's look at ways of how we are meeting those needs, because all of these needs can be met both in healthy and unhealthy ways. And let's start again at the top with certainty. People can meet certainty in a very unhealthy way by staying stuck, staying bored, living a very low quality kind of life day in and day out, doing the same thing, staying in unhealthy relationships, staying in jobs that are not really allowing them to fulfill their whole potential, all in the name of providing stability. How many times have you heard from people who are staying in a relationship that's actually not serving them and not suitable, sometimes even in abusive relationships, just for the sake of being here for the kids and not wanting to tear the family apart? As a coach, just like any relationship therapist would say, so you have to think twice about whether you want your children to learn and pick up those same unhealthy relationship patterns, or whether it might be healthier and better for you to step away from that and settle in a new, healthier and better way. So certainty met at a very low quality level will be to opt for the very basic stability and safety at the expense of you being able to be all that you can be. It's the same thing, by the way, also with unhealthy eating patterns. You know, certainty can very much be just getting some rubbish deep fried food from the fast food chains. It can be buying unhealthy ready-made meals from all the supermarkets, and just getting something that's easy, that's predictable, but not really nurturing and nourishing yourself. How can you meet certainty in a higher quality way? Well, first thing is to find certainty within yourself. Look at your strengths, look at the good qualities that you have, and see that you can make a lot of good stuff happen. You don't have to rely on others, not on other relationships, not on other people to come and rescue you. You actually have a lot of resources inside yourself. So how can you build certainty for yourself, and certainty from the inside out? Like, how can you, for example, add to your skill set so that you can potentially find a work that is more aligned with yourself? How can you provide certainty to your children by teaching them good resources, by teaching them good habits and good behaviors? How can you step up living a life that is worthy of a role model and provide certainty and stability from that position rather than staying stuck? So here is certainty. What about variety? Variety can also be met in healthy and unhealthy ways. An unhealthy way, for example, it's not really that bad, but it's just not great, is by creating lots of drama around yourself. Who has friends in their friendship circle who always have a lot of drama going on, always extra busy out there, relationship breakups, stress in their families, and there's always a lot of hoo-ha going on? That might be them meeting their need for variety in an unhealthy way. A very boring way would be to watch a lot of soap operas, because there's also a lot of change happening constantly, a lot of drama, and you can just sit back in your sofa and relax and watch all the drama unfold and tap into that sense of variety without ever having to move your butt out of your apartment. That is, however, really low quality ways. What are great ways of meeting a need for variety? Is learn something new, learn a new language, learn a new skills, educate yourself, meet new people. Like, for example, if you have never dared to public speak, go somewhere to a club like Toastmasters and learn public speaking and meet interesting people. I love business networking. That to me is a never-ending source of variety, because I meet lots of interesting business people who have all interesting stories to tell. And each time I speak to someone, I learn something new. My favorite ever way of meeting my need for variety is traveling. Right now, in the times of COVID, that might be something that's not quite as easily achieved. But once this is over and we are able to go outside the country, we are able to do that again. And mind you, you might within your own country find amazing places to go to and have like a stay in the country kind of vacation. But see new places, see new things, soak up new inspiration, and then have all sorts of interesting stuff going on inside of your head. Good conversations with smart people that inspire you. Even inspiring videos on a YouTube channel like this one might be able to meet your need for variety. So find ways of getting that in a healthy way. The next one, significance, is a very interesting one. One of my teachers, Joe Pane, who was one of my first coaching teachers, actually made an incredibly valuable distinction once, saying that people, especially in the workplace, but also in other settings, can meet their need for significance healthily and unhealthily by either being a giver or a getter of significance. And that's something that stuck with me and that I've observed a lot in other people ever since. Being a getter of significance, particularly if you are in a managerial position, is that you are, in order to receive significance and feel it, you need to suck it out of others. So you will probably be polite and respectful towards your superiors, but be quite willing to kick down and treat badly the people underneath you. And by making yourself feel superior to them, you can then have a sense of internal significance. It's just actually a really unresourceful way, and it creates all sorts of workplace tension just by trying to feel better than everybody else and trying to put yourself in a superiority position. A much smarter way of achieving a sense of self-worth and significance is to give significance to others. And it is so ridiculously easy. All you need to do is look around you and find people who are actually potentially doing a good job, and acknowledgement. Give them acknowledgement. Acknowledge them, uplift them, give them resources and support, and pat them on the back. Tell them that they're doing a fantastic job. By you acknowledging them, you are actually going to naturally feel a sense of significance as well alongside them, and you can all uplift each other. If you are wanting to start off a positive cycle of people around you being able to feel significant, start by giving out compliments. I mean, mean them. Find ways of acknowledging people that are actually honest and supportive, and not just saying nice but not very credible stuff. But find ways of uplifting the spirit around you, and not only will you feel more significant, you'll also be making everybody else around you feel significant, which can be really a great contribution in the workplace. Same thing goes for your family. If you have kids, if you have parents, you probably do, and around your friends, what is it that you can find within them that you can acknowledge and heighten, and let them see their own magnificence? It's something incredibly beautiful. Another important way of meeting your need for significance is to learn about and tap into your own boundaries. It's easily achieved that people can work all over you when you don't have a strong sense of self. So if you want to meet your need for significance healthily, do it in the way that you become clear about what it is that you want and who it is that you are, and put healthy and firm boundaries so that people will respect them and allow you to have a healthy sense of self. An interesting example that our teacher gave when we first discussed this concept was a very unhealthy way of meeting your need for significance would be if you are like a criminal in the Bronx. Imagine you're holding a gun to someone's head. From one second to the other, you are like 100 out of 100 significant to that person. It's, however, a very unhealthy way as well, and it's not in the long run going to make you very significant at all. If anything, it's probably going to land you in jail or in a graveyard. So if you have lived that kind of lifestyle where you have needed to bully or put down or destroy other people and their livelihoods, then find a healthier way of gaining a sense of significance. There's, for example, in prison, I've seen documentaries that there are beautiful ways of encouraging prisoners to take responsibility for someone other than themselves. Like I've seen documentaries about prisoners looking after stray dogs in prison. And because they suddenly had a sense of meaning and of being important to someone or something other than themselves, they suddenly were gaining a sense of significance and meaning in their life that they had never experienced before. Often it will be also systems of mentorship inside prisons that will then allow them to step up and be in a role of mentorship and leadership towards other younger members of their community, that will suddenly give them a sense of meaningfulness in their life that they might never had before. And so rather than being a gang member or gang leader, they will now be leaders for people to better themselves. So that can be a very interesting insight in this. So how can you gain significance, self-assert, and be powerful and step into your sense of power in a healthy and nourishing way rather than in a destructive way? The next one is love. This is another interesting one that our teacher made an interesting distinction about. And he said that a lot of people will settle for just a sense of connection and not ever really go for true love because they are too scared to put themselves out there, have it and lose it, or never be able to attain it. So that would be an interesting question to you. Are you settling in love? And this is, by the way, not only in relationships of a romantic nature. This can also be in friendships. Are you conveniently hanging around people or keeping people, around you that give you a sense of connection, a sense of not being alone, but you don't actually really care about them that much? Or are you being in a holding pattern with someone that kind of is dragging you along or stringing you along, I think you say, without actually caring, without actually making an effort with you? Or are you willing to step away from low quality, low level connections that are just serving to make you feel like you're not alone, and are willing to go for relationships that are actually meaningful to you, that are actually nurturing all of who you are, and that are supportive of you being the best that you can be? People willing to support you, and by the way, also willing to call you out on your stuff if you're not really living up to your highest potential. Are you surrounding yourself with people who will tell you things straight and who will support you on your journey? And then growth and contribution you can't really necessarily meet in an unresourceful way. Growth and contribution in and of themselves are wonderful qualities to step into. However, there's an interesting aspect to it where you can meet those things just for yourself, or you can meet them for a higher good. Like, are you growing just in a self-serving sort of way, just to be more, to be able to showcase how much you know, how amazing you are? Or are you actually looking to grow, to learn more, to become more, so that you can ultimately contribute more? Are you thinking of learning more for yourself, or are you thinking of learning more and stepping up to be able to give more? So that would be an interesting distinction in that regard. What is it that you want to learn? What is it that you want to grow next? What are your interests? What are your talents? What are things that you maybe wanted to learn or to be as a child or as a teenager that you have set aside over the years of your adult life because something else got in the way? Relationships, jobs, raising kids was more important. Maybe there's something that you can remember right now, a desire, an interest that you had many years ago that you might want to tap into now and fulfill at this point. So, 6 Core Needs by Tony Robbins. Brilliant example of being able to tap into your own unconscious and understand what it is that drives you. Now, what do you do with these 6 core needs? If you want to really engage that in your life, one good tool that you can use for yourself is to actually write down those 6 needs: certainty and variety, love and significance, growth and contribution. Write them down on little cards and rank them. So if you had to choose, for example, between certainty and variety, which one would you find more important? Think about a few aspects in your life where you are having certainty, where you're having variety. What ultimately is more important to you? And you can do that with each of the 6 needs and rank them against each other, so that ultimately you're coming up with a hierarchy, for example, where certainty or variety or significance or love is on top, then the next one, and so on. And in doing that, look at your 2 main drivers. Obviously the one that's on top, but also the one that is second and goes along with it. What are those 2 drivers, and where in your life can you observe them playing out? And how are these choices working for you? For example, a lot of people are opting for certainty along with love and connection. That's often this like motherly, nurturing, providing a stable and happy home for the family type of love. A lot of men will opt for certainty and significance. So they are your leaders in business and management, the ones who are able to step up and get other people to do the work, and who are self-asserting themselves, hopefully in a healthy way. Depending on what your drivers are, you will find that you might be missing out on certain aspects in your life. So you can look at the other drivers and see how you can meet them and integrate them more into your life in a healthy way that enhances your experience of life. Again, remember, it's all about creating more options, more opportunities, more freedom, so that you can ultimately be all that you are and live life to the fullest and experience a high level of happiness and personal fulfillment. You can also obviously look at the 6 core needs and see if you are displaying unhealthy patterns in relationships, in your work, in other areas of your life, with your health, for example, where you are meeting those needs in unhealthy ways. Like often when I coach people in my practice, I will actually look at them with them from an aspect of what we call secondary gain. What behavior is it that you are displaying, and why do you do this? What is this giving you? For example, if you are, say, cheating on your wife, right, or cheating on your partner, what are you getting out of this? The immediate answer is pretty much always, oh, nothing. It's only giving me grief and a hard time. It's like, no, hang on. There's something on a very deep level, might be unconscious, that you are getting out of this behavior. If you didn't, you wouldn't be doing it. So what is it? That might, for example, be a sense of variety. If you have been in a relationship many years, everything stays the same, it's become a bit stale, it's become a bit boring, maybe physically it's not as attractive anymore, then stepping out of line and finding someone else might provide you with the variety that you need. Now, obviously, you can do that, but it's probably not going to give you great results in life. So then the interesting question would be, how can you meet that same need of variety, but in a way that is actually healthy for yourself, for your relationship? So it would be taking it back and looking at, well, what could we do for variety in our marriage? Maybe we can do a course together. Maybe we can go out on dates more often. Maybe we should start traveling together. Maybe we need to spend more one-on-one quality time and have a babysitter if we have little kids at home and that has taken us away from our one-on-one time. Maybe we could go and do a dance class together or something fun, maybe a cooking course. And maybe we just actually have to commit to spend more private quality time as a couple so that we can have those physical relations that we crave. So this is how it works. Look at whatever area of your life isn't functioning, and what are the behaviors that you are doing that are not really serving you, identifying which need is being met by that behavior, and then seeing how you can meet that same need in a healthier, more functional, more supportive way that enhances your life rather than taking away options. So I trust this has given you a couple of impulses. Sit down, do your 6 core needs and work out which are your main drivers and how to enhance them. By the way, there's one more thing before I finish up. That's also really interesting that Tony Robbins points out in terms of how addictive meeting those needs can become. He says if an activity, a person, a place meets 2 of your needs, you will have a certain interest in it, but it's not going to be overly fascinating. A place, a person, or an activity that meets 3 of those needs, you will develop a strong liking to. But a place that meets 4 needs or an activity will be really addictive. And I can say that from my own life, for example, in certain jobs that I have worked. I used to be a tour guide in my early 20s, actually in my late teens into my 20s for 6.5 years, and was traveling aside from university and college to go to Paris, to Portugal, to Spain. That job met all of my core needs. I got certainty because as a tour guide, eventually I knew the places quite well and would find my way around and was proud of that. I got the variety of traveling and I got paid for it, which was brilliant. I got significance. It feels pretty damn significant when you have 50, 60, 70 people surrounding you and you're standing on some famous old place in Paris teaching them about the place and the history around it. I definitely got a lot of love and connection out of it because I met an incredible lot of interesting people, and definitely both growth and contribution were met because I could learn something and I would go out teaching it. So that for me was an incredibly addictive thing, and I don't think I would ever have given it up if I hadn't had first a university degree to finish and an exam to write, and then a baby not long after that kept me busy at home. So that was one of the things. Unfortunately, drugs in a similar way can be very addictive. You get the certainty of knowing what's going to happen if you take them. You get that arousal or intense experience when you take them. So you get variety. Significance, I'm not so sure about. If you do with some drugs, probably more than with others. You might have some sort of feeling of love and connection to the world, the universe, etc. if they are psychedelic drugs. And I don't know if there's definitely not much contribution in that, I would assume, but probably some sort of sense of growth, of being something other than yourself and having a experience that expands your consciousness, at least for a little while. So these kind of patterns can be addictive. So can be certain types of relationship. But if that happens to you, think about whether it's a healthy or an unhealthy addiction that you have, which needs are being met, and how, again, if it's something that's not serving you, you can meet those needs in a better and healthier way. Anyway, I trust you've gotten a lot out of this little concept. All credit to Tony Robbins for bringing something that interesting and fascinating into the world. If you like our channel, you know where to subscribe down here and hit the bell button to get notifications every time we put out new content. And if you have interesting comments to make, leave them down in the comment section. We're always excited when our community starts to have conversations and put their views and ideas into the comment section. Thank you very much. See you next time.